I'll start off by doing something which is not at all the main subject of the episode, but I do hear that may be a chance to totally scramble both the patience of my long-suffering channel audience and the mystical deities that we know as the YouTube algorithm. I'm spreading out the final layer of premium water-resistant high compressive strength cement. This forms the neat covering and encapsulation for the steel and rock ballast, which I then edged, primed and painted with my ubiquitous white bilge paint. I need to add some new routing for the diesel supply and return lines. It's quite tight space-wise down there, so I have to once again use the special right-angle drill adapter. But before long we have hoses safe and out the way, kept away from the bottom of the bilge or general swinging around. Very good. And I promise this will make sense in due course, but I need to repurpose the old engine bay cowling from Alan's actual days on duty as a lifeboat. This is down south at my workshop, and really all I need is a curved bottomless enclosure a little over a metre long. It saves me tons of time and hassle to use this, instead of moulding and glassing up my own new laminate. It's going to contain new batteries, but not these ones, not the lead carbon house bank. The house bank box can go back into its slot, and sits on top of that newly finished cement encapsulated steel. I put some rubber matting underneath to soften any vibrations and even out the undulations which most certainly did not result from my workmanship. The batteries are outside, and we must get them inside. I don't trust the stepladder with 70kg batteries, but luckily the friendly yard team come to my rescue. Telehandlers are pretty good fun, especially in tight confines. And with over a quarter of a ton of batteries held right at the extent of its reach, I still needed to lift the 50 and 70kg batteries at the extent of my reach. No drops, and inside they are. Given the state of the boxes when they arrived from the underwhelming supplier, I wanted to double check their condition, and also the state of charge, in case they had been in storage longer than they should. A clean bill of health as far as I could deduce. Those of you up to date with the battery arrival episode will understand this sentiment. Batteries in and wired up once more. Alan is back on DC, having been on AC power for some time. On that note, let's weld, and get back onto the main topic, finishing the stern platform. My welding is so cack-handed that it's just as well that it'll all be hidden. These are the 30-degree stainless steel brackets, and having grub screwed them into the right length with the stainless support rods, I'm welting them solid, so that the grub screws no longer have to do any of the work. All the customary next steps you'd demand from a master metal worker and platform installer, like etch priming, another coat and then some glossy top coats. I fitted them with through bolts top and bottom into the solid steel transom mount and up into the reinforced outer edge of the platform. Since the latter is fiberglass, I'm using those wide stainless discs I had laser cut and drilled weeks ago so that the clamping force is spread out. Aside from those support rods though, I also had all of the clamps for the railings to prepare for use. We don't need to see the paint process again, so let's get on with drilling and bolting the base supports in. I'm using M12 bolts, although the holes could accept a little larger and are far from precision machined for a set bolt size as far as I could tell. Lots of drilling, washer, spanner and nylock nuts later, I can finally see whether this is a terrible idea. Wooden posts are banished and no deflection whatsoever. What a relief. Let's do the railings. More primer and paint and careful cuts to have everything line up properly. I've noticed that when you tighten the Allen key socket grubs to assemble the clamps and tubes, as the steel bites hard into the aluminium, it tries to pull the tube away from its initial straightness. Tolerances aren't great, and this is due to the small clearance around the tubes within the clamp bores. I find they need to be manually kept straight as you tighten the final quarter turn. There are lots of bolt ends underneath the platform, and since our dinghy Allenson III will live nearby, I want to protect the PVC skin. Instead of cutting the ends off, or risking a poor bolt-to-nut capture with shorter bolts, I've decided to heat shrink the ends with a soft plastic. This shouldn't cause any damage to anything if scraped across them. I luckily did not forget to add the eye-clamps to the railing before assembly. I need these to add ropes, straps and shackles to. The main row of railings are done, but we need to run two more, perpendicular, back to Alan's rather awkwardly angled stern shell. Working out where to drill these multi-angle bracket holes is hard. Behind this glorious paint job is either 10mm of solid fiberglass in the cabin, or a foam-filled void. It takes a little bit of trial and error to work out which. I need to get access to the other side so I can secure the bolts with nuts. Good news, just about. The outermost holes do go through the edge of the foam fill, but then re-emerge into the cabin, which is a relief. Only at this point could I accurately measure the length of railing needed, so I did that in one of the final jobs this metal cutter is going to be asked to perform this spring. Finally, what seemed like endless sealant to keep this whole thing waterproof and safe, plus lots of bolting action, some masking tape, and done. Here's a load of rubber fenders. I have 2 locales in mind for stopping Alan bumping into things. And here's Alan's unfinished side mounts. And here's Alison the Third upside down, and more extraordinarily, a sunny evening. And this will probably make people cross. I couldn't think of a better way to cut my rubber fenders to size. A little smelly, and I needed to keep holding back to let the smoke clear and the heat from friction dissipate. It worked very effectively though, and 2 of these should do a great job of protecting Alan's platform from bumps. But by that I mean protecting the world around Alan's platform from Alan. I needed to mark up the locations of where to make the 10mm holes in the rear face of the fenders. These of course will be for the bolts, and they need to line up with the squares in the GRP grating of the platform so I can get washers and nuts on the end. Then larger access holes in the front face so I can get washers and socket bits in there to tighten things up. Good. And I finally put in a hinged, robust flap in that access gap in the middle of the platform. I do hope this will reduce the incidence of loss of crew into the ocean from Alan to below 15%. An admirable goal for us all to aim for. That's nearly enough for now, but I will say thank you very much to those of you who have contributed already to fueling Alan up for the next leg, the next mini leg up to the islands, the Orkneys and the Shetlands. If you do want to head over to my website, there's also merch available too, of course, but if you do want to contribute as little as 1 litre of fuel, we would very much appreciate it. Otherwise we'll get stuck somewhere in the middle of the North Sea without any diesel, and that would be inconvenient. Bye.